celebration of the 40th anniversary of V, the original miniseries.
Adina and I just want to thank everyone who's been part of this group or has supported this group and keeping V alive. We thank you for that support, as I'm sure Kenny does. This is for all of us.
Enjoy.
I've been asked to say a few words specifically to my fans. I have such a deep appreciation for all of you, as I have said personally, if I've had an opportunity to meet you or at a Comic-Con or something like that. And it's interesting, when I was at Carnegie Tech in the drama department in the theater, back in the early 1960s, sometimes I'd go home to Maryland for a weekend, and coming back from Maryland at night on a train, usually, I'd be going through these little small towns in northern Maryland and lower Pennsylvania, like towns like McConnellsville and Mercersburg and places like that. And as the train passed through, I was actually looking in the windows of people's homes and apartments and all those lives out there. And sometimes it would actually bring a tear to my eye because I couldn't understand quite why. And finally, I realized it was because there was this mass of humanity out there and people that I'd never really be in direct touch with one way or another, that my work would never, reach. And then when I began to get a little bit of notoriety doing the $6 Million Man, the Bionic Woman, and later the Hulk and such, I began to get fan mail. This was before emails. And it would come from, little towns like Mercersburg and McConnellsville in Pennsylvania, and as well as places like Tokyo and Kuala Lumpur. And I began to realize the responsibility that I had in what I said in the work that I did that was going out to people. And then when email came along, when I recorded my director commentary for V, the first one I ever did, I put an email address where people could write if they had, comments or questions. And it's the beware what you wish for situation, because this is just a small sample of the emails that I have received over the years. I have 7 volumes like this, and we finally stopped printing them on paper about 8 years ago. So you can imagine the amount. And you should also imagine the amount of appreciation that I have for it. I try to write back to everybody that I possibly can, and I always will. But I'm eternally grateful to the people who take the time to contact me because my work has touched them, has captured their imagination in one way or another. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thanks again. I really appreciate all of you.
Oh, wrong video. First, I'd like to congratulate V on its 40th anniversary. When I first saw it, I was blown away by it. I thought the story was fantastic, and I still do. The plot, everything about it, the resistance fight against this tyranny, and they were willing to fight for all this, whether humanity appreciated it or not. I thought it was great. They put their lives on hold. Kenneth Johnson did such an incredible job on this. The writing, directing, everything about it was great. Everything I've ever seen that he's done, I've loved. The Incredible Hulk, Bionic Woman, Alien Nation, basically everything he's done. I always thought was incredible. He's such a great writer and director. Thank you, Kenneth, for such a great story. The whole sci-fi element of it, the visitors really posing as humans but being reptiles and everything. It looked great. I love the motherships, skyfighters, and the shuttlecrafts. Just thought it looked great, especially the uniforms. I can't forget the uniforms. And as far as what the visitor fleet means to me, it's not just a costuming group. It's family, it's friendships, friends. I just enjoy talking to the various members. And, the uniforms are really great. They're second to none. Thank you, Charles and Adina, for putting this all together for us. And I'd just like to say again, congratulations to V on its 40th anniversary.
Hola, soy Sonia de Maíz Squad y aprovechando el 40 aniversario de la serie V, me gustaría comentaros un poquito cómo ha influido en mi vida. Todavía recuerdo ese sábado 2 de febrero de 1985 Yo estaba en la calle jugando con mis amigos y de repente todo el mundo se fue a sus casas porque empezaba una serie que días atrás habían anunciado y que creo que a todos nos iba a gustar. Y bueno, creo que nos cautivó bastante a todo el mundo, puesto que al día siguiente pues comentábamos todo lo que habíamos visto, incluso pues jugábamos a ser Diana, a ser Julie, a ser Donovan, a ser Brian. Y se nos ha quedado, pues yo creo, esas imágenes grabadas de Diana comiéndose la cobaya o a Robin dando a luz a Elizabeth y a su hermano lagarto. Y desde entonces hasta ahora pues he tenido la serie V muy presente en mi vida y desde que entré en el Malice Squad pues pude cumplir uno de mis sueños, que era el tener uno de esos trajes tan estupendos y maravillosos que salían en la televisión y disfrutar mucho con mis compañeros yendo a los eventos a representar la serie por toda España. Ya parece mentira que hace 40 años que se estrenó la serie en Estados Unidos y bueno, todavía tengo la esperanza de que Kenneth Johnson cumpla el sueño, creo que de todos los fans de la serie, que es hacer esa trilogía para el cine. Pues nada, un saludo para todos y V Forever.
Hi, I'm Denise, and I wanted to wish everyone a happy anniversary from V, The Final Battle. I played Maggie. Recently, I was in London and before that, New Jersey, and it was so exciting to meet so many of the fans. And I was kind of taken back at how important this production was to them and how much they still enjoyed it. A couple people told me, which was so flattering, that I was like a forerunner to all the kind of badass women you see in movies now, which was a great compliment because I was actually trying to do that back then. Before then, I had played kind of maybe softer roles, so that was a real compliment. The only other person in the production that I still keep in contact with and have seen is Sandy Simpson, who played my boyfriend in V, and I know his two kids, when they were little, when they saw it, they were kind of upset that he was kissing another woman besides their mother. But it was a great experience, and I love seeing the fans. So come on out and meet me if you see them somewhere.
Well, for one thing, for its time, it was incredibly diverse. Not only involving so many strong women, and just the fact that there were
unusual at the time to have so many.
So not only there were so many women characters, but they were strong characters. And on top of that, there was diversity in ethnicity. It wasn't just all white people. There were African Americans, there were Asian Americans, there were Mexicans, there was a guy in a wheelchair in the Resistance. I mean, which is not an ethnicity, obviously, but it just speaking to the diversity, there were just so many different kinds of people that it really just felt like a slice of America, but without trying so hard. Like there was no token anyone. They were all just people in this town that were getting together to fight against the big bad. And
well, and again, in those days, there wasn't anything was forced. But in any typical show, yeah, you may have had one strong female.
Right.
Okay.
But
people like to put up Star Wars or
sure.
Alien. Okay, here's one woman.
But was
in a sea of white men. But this was just different. And again, it didn't make any. There was no hay made about it. It
right.
just
was. Was.
In light of International Women's Day, which in my book should be every day as far as I'm concerned, I've been asked to talk about a lot of the female characters that I've created who have been strong women. And it comes from a very obvious place. I was raised by a very strong, independent woman. She was not a single woman, but she was a businesswoman, and she had a career. And I saw her in my youth as a person who could hold her own with anybody she was with, whether they were females or males. She could hold her own in a room full of men and do it very well. I had no idea that she was probably only getting paid half of what they were, but nonetheless, she inspired me to think that all women were equal. And I think I was a feminist before there was even a word for it. So when I became a writer and producer and director, I found myself drawn to the idea of presenting such strong women whenever I possibly could. And whether they were heroes or villains, I really focused in on the fact that they had an inner strength. And in many cases, like Faye, playing the role of Julie in my original miniseries V, they were based on real people often. Faye's character was based on a woman named Andrea de Jong, Jongh, de Jong. She was a young woman who was about Faye's size, under 100 pounds, and almost like a bobby soxer, and about 22 years old, when she encountered a group of RAF flyers that had been downed in France, and she said, "Would you like me to get you out of here and back into the war?" And they said, "What's this girl going to do?" Well, that girl led them over the Pyrenees Mountains from France down into Spain, where she took them to Bilbao and said, "Here they are, get them out and over back into England." And the Spanish people said, "How did you do this?" She said, "I walked them over the Pyrenees. You want me to bring some more?" And she did. And she became one of the heroes of the resistance. And I loved that character, the fact that it was a strong, young woman whom the Nazis even captured at one point. And when she told them the truth, they said, "Don't be ridiculous. You couldn't have done that. You're a girl." And that's exactly the kind of person that I wanted to have in shows that I have done. And throughout my career, I have always tried to create characters that were strong and independent and self-thinking and self-motivated women. And it's been my pleasure to do that. And I'm really pleased that so many people in my audiences have recognized that I've tried to and have enjoyed the pieces that I've done.
Hello everyone, this is Peter Elbling talking about V. Originally it was just a one-day gig and I was delighted to get it. I hadn't really seen a lot of episodes, but the few that I had seen intrigued me. Anyway, I get to set, go to the costume department, and what a surprise, a bright orange jumpsuit uniform sort of thing. I put it on, made my way to the set. Everybody was ready and in place. I pointed to the spot where I have to stand. The director says, "Camera, sound," and just before he says action, he whispers in my ear, "Do it gay." I barely have time to look around to make sure it was the director and not somebody pranking me when he says, "Action!" And Oswald was born. I had great fun doing it. Only did a couple of takes and then I went home. Later on during the week, my agent called me and said, "You must have done something right because they want you to come back next week." Well, I was delighted. I went back next week and the week after. And now I watched it religiously and was really disappointed, as were many other people, when the show was cancelled. But I'm happy to say that I believe I am the only gay lizard alien in the history of television. There's got to be some kind of award for that, surely.